Yeah, I'm exposing myself with this one. So this is the CAT-GIRL SMILE CAMO, and if I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty hot. You unlock this camo for completing the new Echo Endo live event that they added to the game. Unfortunately, this isn't like the other events that we've had recently where you gotta complete a bunch of challenges to do, which are the ones that I prefer. Unfortunately, this is one where you just gotta mindlessly grind out XP until you unlock it, but thankfully it doesn't take too much XP to unlock. So just running through the event real quick, I forget what each XP goal was, and unfortunately they don't allow you to see it after you've already completed the event. But anyway, you unlock the Peace Pose weapon sticker, a double XP token, the Mike's on large decal, a double weapon XP token, the Little But Fierce charm, a tier skip for the battle pass, the Secret Keeper emblem, the Bang calling card, a double battle pass XP token, and finally at 290,000 XP you unlock the CAT-GIRL SMILE camo. And just in case you were curious as to what all of these things look like together between having the weapon sticker on, the large decal on, the little charm on, and the animated camo on all at the same time, I picked the BP50 here so you can see on the magazine we have the weapon sticker. It's a little hard to see because it's at like the bottom of the screen there, but that's there, as well as the large decal on the weapon itself and the charm, and all together, yeah, it looks absolutely glorious, absolutely beautiful. I'm just gonna go ahead and expose myself real quick and say that when it comes to the type of women that I'm into, it does largely fall on the side of, you know, Japanese anime women, and, I'm not a furry, but I will say that cat ears are pretty cute. And don't get me wrong, again, I'm not into the whole furry thing. You know, if a woman would go out and get cat ears actually surgically implanted into her head, that's a little too far for me. But if it's like the fake little cat ears they put on, maybe get a little tail going if you want to, I mean, in a cosplay sense. And yeah, you know, I can kind of get down with that. Anyways, now that I've absolutely exposed myself, they ended up adding a new camo to the game, and unfortunately, the only way that you can unlock this is either by having Game Pass or by pre-ordering Black Ops 6. I figured I'd just go ahead and kind of get that bad news or barrier out of the way, just in case any of you weren't planning on buying Black Ops 6 or don't have Game Pass. Yeah, you're gonna have to pre-order the game or have Game Pass in order to get this. But anyway, this is the Reflect 115 camo, and obviously it's paying homage in a way, or kind of taking a new spin on the classic Weaponized 115 camo. If I'm gonna be honest, I kind of wish we could have just seen the return of Weaponized 115 outright, just because I love that camo so much. But, you know, the fact that they're taking a bit of a spin on it and trying something new is also cool as well. There's a bunch of, like, silver/black reflective pieces or panels all over the weapon, and then obviously you got the classic 115S texture, except it's not as, I don't even know how you necessarily would describe 115, where it was sort of, like, transparent in a way. It's not exactly like that. I mean, it's kind of like that, but it's also a different shade with the blue, and it's also animated, unlike the other versions of Weaponized 115 that we've seen in the past. So, overall, I think it's a really solid camo, and I have been rocking it and will continue to rock it. Don't quote me on this, but I also believe they said that it will transfer over to Black Ops 6, so if you plan on getting Black Ops 6, well, I mean, you have to do that anyway, but you know what I mean, like, it'll transfer over to that game as well. Also, as with every week of Modern Warfare 3 weekly challenges so far, you unlock a new aftermarket part for completing this week's set of weekly challenges, and this one is the Jack Protein, I'm just gonna call it the Jack Protein kit. Essentially, what this is it's an aftermarket part for the RAL MG from Modern Warfare 2, and essentially what it does is it makes the weapon a bit of a hybrid. So when you go to shoot it, yeah, the recoil is absolutely insane, but it's a really fast firing LMG weapon. It's pretty good for mid to especially short range CQC combat. But the thing with this weapon that makes it so unique is that it's a bit of a hybrid. So if you switch it over to the semi-auto mode, it doesn't matter what range we're talking about here, you're going to be, oh, sorry, I actually missed that first shot, but you're going to be able to two-shot enemies at literally any range. Now, that long-range shot would have been a two-shot if my aim was a bit better. So if we just go ahead and do it again, one to the chest, and then two to the, and then not even in the chest, I was literally, like, almost lower body at that point. But yeah, literally at any range, it's going to be a two-shot, so it's kind of broken. I could imagine this being a slight meta in Warzone if you tune it out properly. Again, I'm not really a Warzone player, so it's hard to say, but I mean, if you're two-shotting at any range, I know there's armor plates involved in Warzone, but still, two-shotting at any range and then having the ability to, like, be that powerful in CQC combat with how fast that fire rate is. Sure, there's recoil, but again, in CQC combat, that barely matters. I'm pretty out of the loop when it comes to, like, metas and stuff like that, just because I don't follow metas. I just use whatever I want to use. That being said, I think there is some potential here. Now, shout out to Miggle Q Smith in the last video for dropping a comment and telling me to apply the new CAT-GIRL camo that we just talked about onto the genetic abnormality blueprint for the MTZ-762. So if we come over here, okay, that's why he was telling me to put it on. Okay, yeah, so this is for the MTZ-762 battle rifle, and yeah, apparently if you apply the camo to this specific blueprint, it becomes a 1980s disco rave. We're actually gonna go ahead and dive into small map mosh pit, because not only do I want to show off the new camos in game, but I also just want to see if this one is also that broken in game. Shout out to Miggle Q Smith for that one, because yeah, there's no way that I would have used that specific blueprint and then applied that specific camo to that specific blueprint, like literally ever. They also ended up dropping some new skins to go along with this event that they're doing. I don't know which ones were already here and which ones weren't. I know this bottom one was already here, the Endo Ecstatic. I don't know if this one was here. I don't know if this one was here. I do know for a fact that this one is new. At least I'm like 99% sure that it is the Muryu Echo skin for Jet. It actually looks really cool, and I'm not gonna lie, if I was the type of guy to buy microtransactions or if I had more COD points, I'd buy it. That's the thing with me. I'm not necessarily against buying bundles at this point, except I just won't spend any actual real money on the bundles. I'll buy enough battle passes until I save up enough COD points over time to actually afford a bundle that I want, and then I'll just buy it that way. I also pre-order the Vault Edition every single year, so that gives me another bonus in COD points that I could spend towards other things, but outside of that, I just don't buy COD points outright. Anyways, looking at some of the camos in-game, we got the CAT-GIRL SMILE camo here, and this is the one that I have fully decked out with all the decals and stickers and charms and stuff like that, and yeah, this one looks really good in game. You're very cute and beautiful. And then we got the Reflect 115 camo here, and yeah, as you can see, when you get in the right lighting, you know, it'll be real shiny, be real reflective. Personally, I do not play with ray tracing on just because I don't want to take the FPS hit, but that being said, you know, if you turn that on, I'm sure that the effect would go even crazier. You guys know me, I'm not like a FPS or graphics snob or anything like that, but I will say, if there's a way in-game to make it so that there's a way to have a more consistent frame rate, I will always choose the more consistent performance. I don't even necessarily care about if it's 30 or 60 FPS or anything like that. I just care about having a stable frame rate experience, if that makes sense. And sometimes when you turn ray tracing on, it can have a negative impact on your performance and, you know, kind of dip and go and just kind of leads to a feeling a bit more inconsistent. I mean, if I was playing on PC, that would be a different conversation. You know, at that point, I could just tweak settings to make it work, but y'all know me, I'm a console player. So, yep, even in game, if you apply the CAT-GIRL SMILE to this specific MTZ762 blueprint, it will still freak out and be a 1980s disco rave. Honestly, this is pretty cool, and even though people are gonna call me hacking for using this thing, probably, I mean, you know, I wouldn't blame them. It totally looks like a hacker's weapon. You know, I'm still gonna use it anyway, just because it's really funny. Time to snort some cane and get it raving like it's the 80s all over again, brothers. When I think of the 80s, I think of three things. I think of, like, the rave disco lights. I then think of white powdered sugar. And then I also think about all of the amazing movies and video games that the 80s blessed us with. You know, especially on, like, the movie side of things. You got, like, you know, Terminator, Predator, Batman 89, Commando, literally one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Let off some steam, Bennett. I still just don't understand how a camo has this effect on a weapon. Like, where did it go wrong? Was this an intended feature? Did some developer just say, hey, screw it, we're gonna screw with the players and the other developers on the game and make them fix this at some point? Like, I don't even know, but I mean, like, I'm not complaining. This is actually kind of cool in a very weird, strange, and unintentional way. Again, it's just strange because it only affects, like, a very specific blueprint in the game. Like, I don't understand. I actually want to see how that new aftermarket part we were talking about performs in-game, the Jack Protein kit. Come get your protein here. So if we go ahead and switch to the semi-auto mode real quick, okay, yeah, there we go. We got a one-shot kill on that guy, so it's a one-shot headshot, apparently, which that's another thing I forgot to mention. I'm trying to get kind of posted up in the middle here, because this is a semi-auto weapon. I don't want to run into combat with a semi-auto LMG. I won't lie, I was going pretty ham yesterday trying to get this event done, so if we're running into a lot of sweats, it's completely my fault for try-harding as hard as I was, but yeah, I mean, even just getting a couple of kills here. We had the one-shot kill, headshot thing a couple seconds ago, and now we got this going here, like, yeah, it does seem to be pretty powerful. Now, if we switch over to the fully auto, oh, wow, okay, see, I think that guy might have actually been damaged, but I'm thinking that the full auto version is still pretty powerful as well, so yeah, I feel like this aftermarket part might need some tuning because, you know, between the full auto mode or the semi-auto one, this thing just rips and tears through everything. It's been a while since I've used the Model 1889 Akimbos, so we're gonna rock out with these for a little bit. Honestly, as excited as I am for Black Ops 6, it makes me really sad to know that this year is coming to an end, because this has honestly been such a great year for support for Call of Duty. I counted it up yesterday. There is 41 multiplayer maps in this game, 6v6 maps. That doesn't include ground war and all that, literally just 6v6 maps. And while yes, some of those are very variations of maps, there's only a handful of variations in the game. That's still at least like 30 original maps just flat out not including the variations, which is just insane. And that doesn't even mention the fact that we're getting more maps, at least like another, what, 5 to 6 before the game is done. Not to mention all the cool and experimental weapons that they've added to the game and all the cool aftermarket parts like this. Like, who would have thought back in Modern Warfare 2 when the game first came out, Modern Warfare 2 2022 that is, that something like the Lockwood Mark II in that game, a pretty bog standard lever action marksman rifle, would in the following year be transformed into one of the most nostalgic weapons in boomer Call of Duty history. I say boomer Call of Duty history because I feel like there's like 3 generations of Call of Duty at this point, and in a way there literally is. So, you know, you had like the original generation of Call of Duty where it's like Call of Duty 1 up until, I want to say, like Call of Duty Ghosts, where it's like, you know, in that general time frame, there was a lot of people hopping on the COD train. Whether you hopped on between COD 4, COD World at War, Call of Duty 2, we were all getting on the train around that similar time frame. For me personally, it was Finest Hour on the PS2. I still have my original copy from GameStop back in the day sitting proudly on my shelf. And then you have like the Ghost of Black Ops 4 era of Call of Duty where there was a lot of the COD boomers still playing the game, obviously, and still loving it. But then you also had a new wave of people coming on just because, obviously, you know, the kids that were basically babies when the original CODs were in their prime are now a bit older, and now they're getting into Call of Duty. And then we had the MW 2019 up until now generation, where it's just kind of like this entirely new thing for COD, you know, between Warzone coming out and all the changes that have been made to Call of Duty. It's one of those things where, yes, Call of Duty was like the biggest FPS before, but now it's like even bigger than that, and it's still like on top when it comes to just FPS games in the market currently. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously tons of other huge games out like Fortnite and stuff like that, but obviously that's not like a first-person shooter. Like, when we're talking just exclusively first-person shooters, yeah, Call of Duty is on top of its game. I mean, the sales charts don't lie. It's on the top every single year, or at least very close to it, unless something like a new GTA is out. But it's just crazy how far Call of Duty has reached now, because it's one of those things where back when Call of Duty was first blowing up, gaming was still more of a niche thing, or just more one of those things where, you know, gamers still had a bit of a stigma around it, whereas nowadays gaming is just much more widely accepted. You still do have some, you know, way older folks in like their 60s or 70s that have been around since there was all those theories where, you know, that they were told when they were younger that, hey, video games are gonna rot your brain or whatever. But aside from those folks that are like very, very old, you know, it's at that point where like gaming just isn't really frowned upon anymore outside of, you know, from those old people. And it's just much more widely accepted. Like, I have aunts and uncles in my family that are like in their 50s, on their way to their 60s, and they play Call of Duty. Heck, my own mom and my stepdad, who are also like, well, my mom isn't in her 40s yet, but my stepdad's in his 40s. He plays Call of Duty. My mom, I mean, she's always been a gamer ever since she was a kid, so I mean, it's not really surprising that she does play video games still, but it's just the fact that, like, after all these years, after seeing, you know, because, like, she used to play Call of Duty with me back in the day, like Black Ops 2. Me and her used to play, like, Town Zombies a lot, which was really cool. She split-screened that with, like, me and my brother. We'd have, you know, like, 3-player split-screen, and we had a ton of fun playing that. But then, like, around, like, Modern Warfare 2019 into Black Ops Cold War, MW 2019 is when she started dabbling with it, but Black Ops Cold War, she ended up finally buying her own Xbox and, you know, her own version of the game and her own custom controller and stuff like that, and just, you know, really getting into it. And literally ever since Black Ops Cold War, she's completed every single battle pass. She's been there every season. She's bought multiple bundles. Like, you know, me and her are always running around together, but, you know, she'll play as, like, Lara Croft in MW3, for example, because she bought that when that bundle came out. So it's just super rad seeing not only an entirely new generation of kids coming into Call of Duty, but also just seeing it expand, you know, just to gamers and people beyond, you know what I mean? It's just like everybody knows what Call of Duty is now, which is pretty awesome. As much as I rag on some aspects of this game, and when I say some aspects, I mean the only aspect that I rag on is some of the monetization practices when you look at the shop. Just really, and my problem doesn't even come down to the things themselves inside of the shop. It really just comes down to the prices. But even then, I can kind of understand the prices just because this is technically a free-to-play game, and these prices do align with every other free-to-play game on the market. It just sucks for players like me that do already pay for the entire $70, or in my case, $100 game, because I pay for the Vault Edition every year. I pre-order that version. You know, it's still like full price for the bundle, still like 2,400 COD points. But aside from that, like when it just comes to the game itself, outside of some of the monetization stuff and how expensive some of those bundles are, and again, my only problem with the bundles isn't even necessarily just the prices themselves. It's just because I get kind of salty because I look at this stuff and it's like, man, these bundles are really cool. I wish I could use these skins, but I just can't justify paying a third or like a fourth of the price of the game just to, you know, rock out with a skin when I already have so many. But otherwise, when it comes to the game itself, itself, obviously, Call of Duty is still on top of its game just when it comes to that sheer minute-to-minute gunplay, aim, shoot, you know, calling kill streaks and stuff like that. It still feels great as ever. Conversations can definitely be had about SBMM and EOMM and all that other garbage, but that's not even what I'm talking about. When I'm just talking about sheer gameplay, yeah, Call of Duty still as fun as ever. But anyway, that's the new event and all that. We'll be having a new, we'll actually be having Season 5 Reloaded coming out this coming week already, which is insane to say that we're already halfway through the season, and then we'll be on to our way to Season 6, which will be the final season of Modern Warfare 3, as well as the beta for Black Ops 6 coming up in 2 weeks, which we'll obviously be playing like crazy. I'm really excited for that. So, otherwise, yeah, I don't think there's anything really new that's going to be happening between now and Season 5 Reloaded, so I'll probably just see you guys when that drops. So I'll check out the new maps, weapons, I'll grind out Interstellar and Borealis as always for that, and, yeah. But anyway, as always, massive shout out, thank you to all the patrons and channel members, thank you to all the low baller tier, and shout out to all the big baller tier, my last team, Daddy Man, the best on DC, run events, on the G-School. Thank you guys so much, guys. So, Literal Legends, I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.